Hi, I'm Glenn Flood. I've been a chef for 21 years now. Really excited to be involved with the MLA promoting some secondary cuts of lamb. What I'm using here is the Forequarter rack from the lamb shoulder. Really interesting cut. The connective tissue, when it breaks down, brings a lot of flavour into the finished dish. In the kitchen, you're always looking for just a little bit more profit margin and something different. So using non-loin cuts is so important because you can put two different flavours, styles or techniques onto the one plate. Great for your profit margin, fantastic for your customers. Inspiration-wise, you're really drawing on what's around and what's available at the time. So, this felt right. It was an autumnal sort of dish. I've gone to my garden at home. I've sort of looked at what was around and I let those flavours speak. I've got a great dish for you today. It's a slow-cooked lamb four-quarter rack with burnt cauliflower and smoked beetroot jus. You've got these beautiful bits of fat and sinew running through that when we slow cook this are going to break down and create a really nice mouthfeel for your customer. So first up, I'm going to create a wet rub. It's going to give some real interest and some real flavour into this four-quarter rack. Got some fennel seeds and some coriander seeds. Both I've just toasted off. So put in about a teaspoon of those. Really depends on how much you're making. A little bit of dried chilli. Now the salt's the abrasive that helps to break down all those dry spices. So we'll give that a bit of a pound first. Once we've got the dry spice all ground down, I'm going to add the wet components into the rub. So we're going to go with a little bit of lemon. We'll zest that down. A couple of cloves of garlic. I've just peeled a couple here, so we'll drop those in. And now some rosemary. Now, flavouring down our lamb. What I like to do here, and you can see, my butcher's trimmed this up so they're Frenched, the four-quarter rack, but there's still a good amount of fat and sinew running through it because I want that connective tissue to give the flavour and the mouthfeel to the end dish. So what I love to do is rub it down and give it overnight in the fridge to really let those flavours come all the way through, but a couple of hours of boil. For our parsnip puree, so we're going to peel down our parsnips. Just remove the core like so. And we want to make a puree out of the lovely flesh. Just cover them with cream. A couple of knobs of butter to create a richness and a good pinch of salt. Throw my lid on, get it onto the stove, bring it up to the boil, then down to a simmer. So I've taken my parsnips, they're all nice and soft because of that cream, the butter, it's got a lot of richness in. Just drop the whole lot into the blender, pureed it right up, and it becomes a little bit starchy and very silky. What I end up here with is something quite stunning that's going to sit beautifully with our lamb. So the sauce for this dish is really interesting. We've got three distinct components. Number one's the veal jus. Number two, we've got the beetroot puree, which adds a real good sweetness and colour into the sauce. And number three is the smoked bone marrow. All together, they're sensational. Beetroot puree, really simple. Cutting it down will make it cook a little bit quicker. Got the garlic on there, the rosemary, a little bit of olive oil, some salt. I'm going to wrap that up and put it into the oven. Roast it till it's soft, probably about 90 minutes, maybe a bit more, depends on the size of the beetroot. So the beetroot was all soft. I've taken it out, peeled the skin off, removed the garlic and the rosemary and pureed it right down. So the smoked beef marrow adds a lot of depth and some real interest into this sauce. So I've had my butcher just carve through those marrow bones, and what I'm going to do here is just push out the fat into some ice water so it leaches out any extra blood. For the smoking mix, a bit of rice. We use rice because it holds the heat. Some sugar, so as it burns, obviously as the heat comes through, the sugar will help to release some flavours and caramelise. Some cinnamon quill, break that down, and a couple of bits of star anise. And just drop it into the base of the wok. We're going to put the marrow onto a cake rack, just sit it above and put it onto either a wok or a saucepan, something with a good lid, and smoke that bad boy up. For the last bits of the garnish, I've taken some fresh peas, potted those down and blanched them quickly. I've taken my cauliflower, broken it down into small florets, and what I'm going to do with those is caramelise them in some butter and some olive oil to bring a really interesting flavour to the overall dish. What I've got here, it's a bit weird and wonderful, is Saltbush. So grows naturally around the bay throughout Melbourne. It's got a really interesting flavour to it, almost like the skin of a Granny Smith apple. What I'm going to do with it is simply pick the leaves down, throw it into a very low oven or into your hot box overnight so they dry out. And what we end up with is crispy, natural seasoning. So here I've got some rosemary flowers and some chive flowers, fresh from the garden. They're in season, it made sense for the dish. I'm not adding them unnecessarily. So we've got the three elements of the sauce coming together. The veal jus, the beetroot puree, and the smoked marrow fat. Just add it to taste. It adds a lot of complex flavour into the overall sauce. Ah, sensational. So we've pan-seared the lamb, put it into the oven, 100 degrees, so pretty low, slow cooking. 25 minutes to half an hour. Now we give it a short rest, then we're going to trim it off the rack, slice it to plate up. So to plate up, we get our parsnip puree, get that down on the plate. The sliced lamb, you can see it's really juicy, it's not running across the plate. Then we'll grab a little bit of our caramelised cauliflower, a little bit of the peas, scatter those around, our crispy saltbush, a couple of the little foliage flowers, and lastly, our beautiful smoked marrow jus. Just drizzle that around. There we have my slow cooked lamb 4-quarter rack with parsnip puree, smoked marrow jus and crispy saltbush.